everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm here today with my co host, Carrie, and a very special guest. We are so excited to have Marina with us today. Hey, Marina.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're excited. We're really excited. We're continuing our series in our barriers to healing. And today's going to be all about mindset and belief and nervous system. And it really is an exciting topic for me because, and I think Carrie would agree, it plays so much into our healing. Um, you know, there's always this underlying, like, can I get better? Will I get better? And so I'm just super excited to talk about this today.
Yeah, me too. I've loved this series. If you're just joining us for this is the first episode you've ever listened to. Welcome. We like to do things in series just to kind of really expound on a topic and share more in maybe bite-sized pieces. So we're actually doing a series, like Jen said, called Barriers to Healing. And I love this because I think sometimes we can really chase things that aren't actually the root cause. And so we wanted to just give more insight because it's rarely just one thing that's a barrier to your personal
Amen.
healing,
Yep.
And so if you haven't listened to the other episodes, we really encourage you to go back and listen to those. We've really more so talked about mainly physical things as it implies to the barriers that could be impeding our healing. But today, on today's episode and then the next episode, we're going to talk more about the emotional, spiritual things that could be standing in the way of our healing, which I love this. I don't think it's talked about a lot, and I think it's extremely important. And I see it all the time, that our mindset and what we believe about our healing is really everything because it really keeps us in this place of striving and of like this fixed mentality. If we feel like it's going to be hard for us to heal, or we can't heal for whatever reason. And so that really affects our physical being a lot. So we're just going to kind of unpack this subject and talk around a few things that, I think are really key in this topic. So Marina, I wanted to throw this question to you. How important do you feel like it is from going to thinking that and believing that things happen to you and then going to the belief that they happen for you? That to me is a really big distinction. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I can't remember exactly where I heard that quote, so to say, but it stuck with me. Really, in my own personal journey, I had a victim mentality. Things were happening to me,
Yeah.
and really, it allowed me to fail to see the bigger picture that God put in front of me. So, in the beginning of my own health struggles, I had really no relationship with the Lord. And honestly, I kept faith and God out of all of my medical decisions. And that's exactly where He should have been. And so allowing me to shift that belief into things happen for me strengthened and restored my relationship back with Him. So that was one of the bigger picture things.
Yeah.
I had just a shift of, the victim mentality to one of like agency and curiosity. What is God wanting me to see out of this experience, out of this journey? And really just being in tune with your true identity, your actual identity, the one that God sees you as. All of these things are part of a bigger picture. And I think once you have that mindset shift, once you can see these things, you see the bigger picture and things become clearer. And other things are strengthened by that. My relationship personally with my husband was immensely strengthened by that belief. So yeah.
I think that it's just, I just think about how, we go through our day and obviously there's bigger things that are going on and smaller things. And so often it really does start with the smaller things and looking at
Yeah.
every day as a gift and just simply like waking up and going outside and getting that morning light and seeing the sunrise and knowing that like His promises are he's faithful every day. And I don't know, I just feel like so much of that can seem overwhelming, I guess, but it really does go back to, just the small everyday, like mundane things that really helped me, just
Mhm.
going through my day and not saying like, why do I have to do these dishes? Or, maybe for instance, today, well, why is my son sick and messing up my work day? Those types of things, just being grateful that I get to be at home with him and like help take care of him and that I have dishes to do. And I just think the small things do, again, make it so much easier and just almost like second nature whenever bigger things happen. You just automatically think, well, obviously that God's sovereign and this is just part of his plan. And it just brings so much more peace rather than constantly being frustrated and angry about different things. It just affects your entire life. It's not, I know we are kind of maybe more focused on physical health on this podcast, but goodness, aren't we all looking for more peace and joy in our day? And I just think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think it's perspective, right? We can look at it as, is it happening, like you said, is it happening to us or for us? And I remember when I was sick and I was thought like, why is this happening to me? Right. And, looking back, it was one of my greatest gifts, right? I don't think I would be where I am today, which is really where God wants me and where I saw myself had I been 100% well.
Yeah,
And so sometimes we look at it, you know, as a negative when it's it's really a great thing and God is leading us.
for sure. I think we can all, and we are going to maybe share more of our story on a future podcast. So kind of stay tuned for that and just, maybe a get to know us series, because I think it's so interesting to see how our past has shaped our future. And it's our testimony, right? I mean, it's the way
Amen.
that God has orchestrated everything. So that to me is a big shift. And I will say if you feel like you are a person that sees the glass half empty versus half full, or you constantly are sort of thinking like, why me? Get in the word. That's not like I'm not trying to throw you off on that. I'm saying like every life flows from that. If you're not in the word and you're not having some quiet time with the Lord daily, like that's where you should start
Right. We
because
have to renew our mind.
right. And like his promises are there for a reason. Like we have to believe that's how we begin to believe. I think it's just to meditate on those promises and know that like if he said it, it's going to come to pass. And he has good things in store for us.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
I love that one.
I do
Um,
too.
what about the difference? And I kind of mentioned it, the difference in approaching our health, let's say, from a fixing mentality to a healing mentality, like God's providing everything I need for my healing. Do you have any thoughts on that one, Marina?
Yeah, so I kind of like to see it as our bodies don't operate like a leaky faucet. So when you have a leaky faucet, your husband or someone comes over, uses a tool to fix that leaky faucet. It's a very specific tool, it's a very specific procedure, and the problem gets solved. To reduce our bodies to this mentality is truly a disservice, because there isn't one thing. And there's not actually even multiple tools that can fix it. These tools can definitely aid in the healing process, but they don't they don't capture the overall message.
Hmm.
Fixing really has like a mechanical, immediate focus. So using external solutions to address the problem. It's really guided on like a short-term mindset. So seeing the
Yeah.
picture only in this moment, alleviating symptoms right away in this moment. Just like we're replacing parts from a leaky faucet, maybe something needs to be adjusted or replaced. Our bodies don't operate like that. We have to incorporate a more integrated focus. Healing is that integrated focus. It's mind, body, and spirit. Um, it really, I think healing just emphasizes the use of using our bodies to heal ourselves, using the body to restore itself naturally. And I think that comes with more of like a long-term mindset. um what's the big, like, let's go back to the bigger picture that I said before. What's the bigger picture in this certain situation or this certain experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally, and I think a lot of people approach healing as, okay, I need to fix this. I need to fix this and I need to fix this instead of, as you said, instead of approaching it with curiosity and saying, okay, what is God showing me? You know, where am I falling out of step with him? Where am I not taking care of my body? Maybe where I need to pay more attention to it and be more loving and, just have the mindset of, I have this temple and I need to care for it in a way that glorifies God. Um, and I think Marina, that shift is super important that you mentioned from, fixing to healing, because that's what we're doing. We're on a healing journey. We're on our healing journey until we're finally healed and, are united with God. And so, that's a great perspective. What and Marina, maybe you could speak a little bit since we're on fixing versus healing, like as you're coming into the healing process or as you're in the healing journey, like how does your mindset and belief around how you can heal, how does that play a role? What I guess my question is, how important do you think their mindset and their perspective is coming into the journey toward healing?
I can speak from personal experience. It is 100% important, and it's the number one thing. There is nothing you can honestly do all the right things, eat all the right foods, whatever, that term means. That's different for everyone. Take the supplements, use the tools, use the external tools that we have. But really, if you don't have that long-term mindset and you don't have that belief that you are able to heal, you just won't. It is, I don't want to say simple because it's the hardest piece, but
Right.
that message is that simple. Just extremely, extremely important.
Yeah, and it plays into a concept that we're all familiar with, which is the placebo effect, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, if we think we can heal, we can, and if we think we can't, we won't.
It's I love that you brought the placebo effect up because I remember going through pharmacy school, and we had that placebo effect mentioned multiple times in different classes in pharmacology. And, it was really thought of as like something kind of silly, and something kind of woo-woo.
Yeah.
I remember them always laughing, like the professors laughing when they would speak about it, but it yielded results. Like
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
actual physical results in clinical trials that happened when a patient was given a placebo or a sugar pill or whatever. So it really, I should have paid more attention to that because
Right.
it really stems to the question, well, the mind is extremely powerful then, right?
Yes.
I mean, if it
Yes.
could heal this person from high blood pressure versus someone that's taking an actual blood pressure medication, if there's really no difference here,
Yeah.
that's a huge thing for us to know as a society.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just like the tip of the iceberg, in terms of speaking on the power of the mind.
Yeah. I love that. Of course, I too learned about that in pharmacy school, and it's almost just, I don't know, it's like you hear it, but it doesn't register. I mean,
Right. Doesn't
that's the
sink
only way I
in.
could, yeah.
Until you
But
see the studies.
right.
Yeah.
But still, even then, I mean, I guess I never really, I probably just didn't have ears to hear, right?
Right.
It just wasn't time.
Right.
Um, but I think about, okay, we're kind of talking about maybe more of like a mental shift. But let's talk about what's actually going on physiologically when we are stuck in, maybe this victim mentality or just this, why are things happening to me? It really triggers our body to not feel safe. not feel like we do have what we need for healing. And that keeps us stuck in that sympathetic dominant nervous system state, which we know basically just you can't heal in that state. And this is just one way that we stay stuck in that, right? I mean, there's so many other ways that we can be shifted to that side. And those combined means that so many people stay stuck in that state all day long, day after day, week after week, month, year. It's like, how do we expect our bodies to do what we want, to go more toward that healing side whenever we don't even give it the chance to do that, right? Maybe only when we're sleeping. That's just not enough time. And I think that's why obviously there are physical things that we can help our body get more into that like healing state, which is the more parasympathetic side of our nervous system. But if the mind is, what we're talking about is so powerful, why wouldn't we tap into that, right? It's like, I think we want to try all the other things before we actually, do the one thing that could probably make the biggest difference, to be honest. It's almost like we're like trying to fight against what the answer actually is.
Yeah, I mean for at least for me, that was first and foremost. You don't even realize you're stuck in fight or flight, right? You're just going from one
Well,
thing to
because
the
it's so
next.
normal. Like
Right.
I think it's just become our norm. Like that's
Mhm.
just where we've been for so long. We don't even realize that we're there.
And you can't heal there. You
Right.
cannot heal standing in front of the saber-toothed tiger. Then that's what the body thinks. And that's,
Yeah.
Carrie and I have talked about this a lot, about how those somatic exercises or things like heart math, which I know we've talked about, can be so important because they literally break up the stress response in the middle of the day or at night to really shift your mind, or being in the Word, reading God's truths, so that you can shift to a perspective of, okay, I have all the resources I need. I have this power of the Holy Spirit within me. I have everything that I need. Just stop and be present in the moment.
Yeah. You shared a oh, go ahead, Marina.
Yeah, I think for me, and this might be true for a lot of, maybe more science-minded people, is the constant influx of information
Yeah.
that we have available to us now. It's really
Good
just
point.
like it's a blessing and a curse at the
Yeah.
same time. And honestly, where I am now, I find it more of a curse that we have all of this information because we don't know where to stop looking. We
Right.
just constantly are looking for the answers, the fix.
Mhm.
Just like how we would YouTube how to fix a leaky faucet, we believe we
Good
can do
point.
that with our health.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just you can't. So understanding that is extremely important, and being able to build kind of like boundaries and set boundaries for yourself around those things is
Yeah.
where, some people have to start.
I love that, Marina. That's
Mhm.
a really, really good point. I've heard that before and forgot about it.
Yeah.
The information overload, and I'm so guilty. I talk about this all the Carrie's. I'll talk to Carrie and be like, I'm going to take this class. I'm going to do this, and she's like, you don't need any more information.
Not right now.
No, no. Not that I don't. I mean, I just love to learn, right? But
Mhm.
sometimes you're at seasons where God has you where you just need to be more still. So that's a really good point, Marina. Really good
Yeah.
point.
I mean, love of learning is a character strength. It's one of the foundational ones that all of us possess. So, keep using that, but maybe use it for different things that invoke creativity and joy in your life.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
And if if you are in the word daily, but say you're still struggling with this, like I think this was a big thing for me as I went from reading the Bible to learn more about myself to learning more about the Lord. Like I just think
Mhm.
about we are so wired to learn more about him, because the
Right.
more we know him, the more we know ourselves. Like we were made in his image. And it's like that is just so like grounding. It's just like he should be our safe place. And the more we learn about that safe place, the more safe that we feel in his, that he's got us. He never leaves us. He's always got a plan for us that's better than what we can come up with. And I think sometimes when we want that understanding, we forfeit peace. He wants to give us peace that surpasses understanding. But when we always seek the understanding, we don't have the peace, because we're saying we want the answers. We don't need you. And that was a big piece for me, because I love to understand. Like, I just like, I want to know how it all fits together and like, all the things. That's just how my brain was wired. But that doesn't mean that that's just how I am. Right. I mean, yeah. So if you
And
find
there's
yourself in that space, I think it's really important to try to shut out some of the things that you might have been seeking answers for, like maybe unfollow people on social media or limit your time there or, et cetera. I think that's really important. What were you saying, Jen?
I was just going to say, it's not bad to be learning or to
Yeah.
pursue healing, but I think sometimes the answers we're looking for really comes in that time of just peace, as you said, like the quietness. It's not when
Right.
we're seeking the answers, but where we think they are.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the answers are in the Lord, and we're too busy
Yeah.
to really see that. That was my for 100%. I was so focused in the sickest time, in my sickest times of, okay, I'm going to try this treatment now, and I'm going to try this treatment now, and then I'm going to do this, instead of, God, let me just be at peace where you have me in this exact moment. Is it fun? Absolutely not. But there's a reason, and I trust you.
Yeah. And I mean, Jen can truly speak from like you are sick, like, and so we're not trying to gloss over the fact that there are just people out there that are really suffering,
Right.
and so, but then again, it's like if you just have that knowledge of like, God has me, he's sovereign, right? He knows where I'm at. He hasn't left me. I'm here for a reason. It really does shift your thinking to begin to look at things differently.
Yeah,
Um,
and to have hope. Don't
and to
forget
have
about
hope.
hope.
Exactly. Yeah.
You will heal. God
Yeah.
will heal you, right? There, to stay in that hope, because sometimes I think we get, in that desolation, but you have to hang on to that hope.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we've kind of talked around it, but just to kind of wind up and sort of give the listeners maybe some direction, I guess. We've talked about a lot of different things that help just kind of change, shift your mindset, shift your belief, but like what do you feel like is a good first step to I know it might be different for everybody, but just to help get you moving in that right direction of maybe a different mindset of one of believing that you can heal.
Um, for me, I did two very, very small things every day I started doing. So because I'm originally from Chicago, we have crazy traffic. I'm a very aggressive driver,
Oh,
and
you fit in well with us.
I recognize that there's a lot of, even though I'm very comfortable in the car, I find that I'm very confident, but I'm also very stressed because other things around me, other people that driving bother me.
Yeah.
So I recognize that that's my sympathetic nervous system acting up. And that's, it's kind of like a cry for help. So the first thing I started doing was while I'm driving, I take 3 deep breaths every time like I exit my garage. And then if there's ever like a certain situation on the road, I do the same thing. So deep breathing, it's very simple. We all can do it. So that's one of the things. And sometimes it's recognizing just things about yourself like that.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I started doing was every morning when I woke up, I would put my feet flat on the floor and tell myself, it's going to be a great day. And I would smile. So that smile, like, kind of puts that mantra into your brain. So it's immediately there at the beginning of your day. And that actually came from Tiny Habits, which is a book. But those two things really kind of snowballed into other things. And sometimes you think like, oh, that's so silly. Like how is that going to help my mindset? But it does. I promise you, just like little habits like that will transform you.
I love that.
Yeah, so do I. Powerful.
Yeah. I think that it's again, if you're listening and maybe you're just in a bad place, maybe you don't feel good physically, or you realize like this is a problem for you, and maybe it's a wake up call. I agree with Marina. you know, it is individualized for everybody, but I do feel like it has to start with something small, because it's like if you try to go and change a lot of things, it's just a lot of times it's too much. And like we were saying at the beginning, small things turn into big things. And I remember when I was just trying to let go of my need for understanding or control or knowing the future. Like I would just get up every day and say, like, God, this is your day, whatever you have for me. Like, I want to do it your way and your timing, all the things. And it was like, after, I mean, it took a while. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't, a lot of times it isn't. I mean, sometimes it is, but a lot of times it takes a little bit of time. But I started looking at my day that way, and just, and just having that peace of knowing that he's already gone before me, and that he gave me enough time to do everything I need to do today. For me, that was one thing I look back and think that was a big shift. And also, as I mentioned, just spending time in the Word, and really getting to know him versus always just feeling like I needed to, find something to fix my problems per se in the Word. That's been a really big shift for me over the years.
Yeah, and I just want to say I'm glad you brought that up, Carrie. That's super important. There is a podcast that I did this summer with Dr. Lauren Murphy. She's a PhD psychologist that talked about, renewing your mind and neuroplasticity. And so literally, so if you feel like you're more of a negative thinker or a doomsday, or you just don't have that belief or mindset, go back and listen to that episode with Dr. Lauren Murphy, because it really talks about we have to make new pathways in the brain. And in order to do that, you have to make it a habit. You have to do it every day. You have to do it over and over.
Yeah.
And those new pathways will be made if it's done consistently. And I used to fake it until I made it. Some days I would feel horrible, but I would get out of bed and I would just say, like Marina, I said, the Lord has me, and this day is going to be great. Literally, I would say that feeling like, how am I going to, in my head, I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? But I would say that. I would, be confident that I would be supported in the Lord. And I really believe that that's what got me through at times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, above all, like, like, pray, ask the Lord to help you. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just, there's so much power in that. And I
Mm,
get,
mhm.
sometimes we hear like, oh, just pray about it. And I think it can seem flippant, but obviously, like, that's one of the most powerful things we can do. So I don't want that to be overlooked at all.
Right.
But
But
No,
yeah, go
like
ahead.
at the start of my journey when I was just, restoring my relationship with the Lord, it was just as simple as putting on my cross every day
mm,
and going about my day. Like it
Yeah.
had to start at the very beginning again. It was a friendship that was, somewhat damaged over, my
Right.
20s and my early 30s. And so
Yeah.
I had, just like any friendship, you have to put time into rebuilding that. And it's not going to happen overnight. So
Right.
I just think it's really, it's easy to say, oh, you have to, do all these things, but really it's just starting at the very beginning and starting very simple, and
Yeah.
you'll be amazed at how it flourishes 6 months from there.
Yeah, I think that also speaks to going from just like the fixing mentality, because I think sometimes when we hear like, oh, we need a whole lifestyle change, it can seem overwhelming, but
Mhm.
honestly, that's usually what happens. But it's just in the smaller things. But it really is a new way of living. And I get, sometimes we only think about that as like, eating a different way or exercising or whatnot. But all the things go together, and it really is a different way of living. And it really just, it changes your whole life. And obviously we're talking about walking in step with the Lord is what this helps you to do. And in turn, I think sometimes we've more so focused on that, which is what we should focus on, and then our physical health, before we know it, improves and we didn't even realize it. I think that's a lot of times what happens, and it's just a beautiful process, because that's what the Lord does. He is constantly inviting us into healing, but we have to accept that and walk in that. So
yes.
I love this conversation. Um,
Yeah. Thank
it
you.
was been great. Thank you
Thank
so much for joining us, Marina. And
Oh yeah, of course.
if you've loved this conversation, and I just want to tell you guys, Marina is actually going to come work with us. So we're super blessed, and just thanking the Lord that He connected us, and just really excited for what's to come at Cornerstone. And we just want to serve you and glorify Him. And so we're excited for what the future holds. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here, and honestly, a biggest honor to come work on your team.
Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for joining us on this episode. As always, we're open for questions, comments. If you need prayer around anything, we would be absolutely honored to pray for you. Join us for the next episode, and we'll see you on that one.